Hi, I'm Jim Bergeron, pastor at Holy Cross Lutheran Church in Houston, Texas, and this is a sermon for the sixth Sunday after Pentecost. Will be preached on 6/30/24. Mark 5:21 to 43. Interruptions. Aren't they aggravating? You're involved in a television program. Your concentration is interrupted by Mike Lindell selling pillows, dog beds, house slippers, and mattress covers, direct from his factory in Minnesota. You're adjusting to this whole new set of informational stimuli. And Mike breezily says, and now I interrupt this message to tell you about Giza Dream Sheets, where he shows you a map, not of Minnesota, but of the Nile Delta in Egypt, where the cotton's grown for his special sheets. Land of Goshen, as it once was called. Interrupt this message are words signaling an emergency. Mr. Lindell just interrupted his first major interruption of my train of thought. So now I have ideational whiplash. In the confusionness of this maelstrom, I might buy it all, hoping to reduce the stress of interruptions. It's genius level advertising. I'm glad to alert the consuming public about an interesting marketing technique. It is exactly how the gospel writer Mark blends opposing storylines to create one wonderful recounting of how Jesus healed two incredibly different people with the same thing from opposite life situations with opposite needs. This healing reorders creation. It created social parity. It extinguished human isolation. And it lifted up the faith that redeems life. The story really is a single healing, a healing within a healing. Throughout the narrative, the issue deals with the flow of blood in life. Biblically, blood is life. Jesus is the Son of God, with a flow of power over the flow of life's blood. Let us begin by noting that Jesus heals at the absolute extremes of the social margin. The daughter of the richest man in town, in charge of all synagogue activities from building, maintenance, renovation, to worship, readings, preachers, must wait for his daughter's healing. While Jesus is interrupted by a woman of no status, ritually unclean for 12 years, completely isolated, and nominally worthless by official decree. It's an example of the callous proposition that only one of these lives matters, the other does not. Jesus doesn't favor Jairus because of his wealth and social standing, and he doesn't ignore the older woman for her impoverishment, uncleanness, and untouchable status. Both are daughters of Israel and treated by Jesus as such. He touches them both, which in itself is a controversial breach of etiquette, Levitical law. In both stories, competent authorities have signed off on these cases. The best physicians with the best remedies could not heal the older woman's bleeding, but they were willing to exploit her and take all her money. The best undertakers that money could buy pronounced the little girl dead. It was a usual diagnosis back then. In those days, many people were pronounced dead prematurely, especially girls. By the mid teens, 60% of people born had died. Only 3% of people made it to age 60. To be considered an older woman meant you had to be older than 24. Both storylines involve serious ritual defilements. Jesus, in touching either woman, will be rendered unclean unless his presence and touch remove the potential for defilement. Jesus can't be accused of uncleanness from touching a woman with a bleeding discharge if she's clean. She touched his robe. She is healed. He notices, who touched me? Disciples are like, seriously, Rabbi, who touched you? It's a crowd. Everybody touched you. Furthermore, Jesus can't be accused of touching a corpse if she's walking around and eating, and he said she was sleeping. Who's going to say any different? The father and the mother? They have a daughter who is well, alive, and hungry. The only other witnesses of that private motive are Peter, James, and John. Yep, Jesus woke her up. These two women likely never met or would meet, but they're connected as creational equals because of Jesus. They are, in fact, absolutely necessary for each other in this grand design. They're together in their need for a healing solution in their dilemmas concerning the flow of blood of life. Mark speaks with amazing candor concerning sensitive subjects. The woman has experienced 12 years of virtual death. Having begun at the time of her menarche, her flow of blood never stopped. She would have no pregnancy, no husband, no children, no family. At the advanced age of 25, her only human contact is outcast untouchables. The girl has only experienced 12 years of life. She was born in the same year that the woman began unstoppable bleeding. On the same day, 12 years later, both are healed. One stopped bleeding and it restored her to life. The other had her life restored to her so that she could start her bleeding and produce life. Throughout the Bible, blood is life. Menarche interrupted is restored or begun by an anomaly, menopause gratefully concluded. Each woman needs what the other woman has. Each woman is now complete. The blood of death becomes the blood of life, and the universe is balanced. Jesus restores creational reciprocity. Parity is achieved. This miraculous interruption leads to perfect balance. This is what Jesus does. He balances things. Even the words he uses to restore this situation are balanced with previous words in other storms. He tells the wind and the waves to sit down and shut up. He tells Jairus' daughter to stand up and open up for breakfast. You can't help but love the Gospel of Mark. He's an amazing artist of thought and language, a poet who sculpts ideas with words. Jairus, in faith, has bowed down before Jesus as an indication that they are social equals and he is in need. Perhaps he has known Jesus by interacting with him at the synagogue, even using him for a lector or a preacher. Jairus has gone out on a limb. It's a bold move considering the political climate. Many of his peers don't like Jesus or hate Jesus, or, as we have seen in earlier lessons in Mark, have been plotting, even on the Sabbath, to kill Jesus. Jairus asks for help, and Jesus agrees. This is a publicly witnessed social contract. Jesus is duty bound now to drop everything and go. The interruption of the woman with the hemorrhage shocks everyone. Jesus interrupts a life and death mission for a VIP, legally contracted to attend to the lowest of the low. That's a huge affront in some people's eyes, a complete social gaffe, an embarrassment to anyone with a vested interest in the outcomes. Scandal is heightened by the public announcement that he's too late to help Jairus' daughter. She's been pronounced dead. It's a miracle of fatherly faith and friendship that Jairus, in an upheaval of grief, didn't say, well, forget it. I am suspicious of the people coming from the Jairus' house to tell him that his daughter is dead. They're sneaking around. It's in the text. An interruptive, private conversation in a crowd, spoken in stage whispers, so many people will hear and spread the word. She's dead, she's dead, she's dead. It's obvious something is going on here. They want Jesus out of there. Nobody tells Jesus anything. He overhears their comments. Jesus tells Jairus, don't fear, believe. Peter, James, and John, come on, let's go. And get this. At Jairus' house, the master of the house, the synagogue director, the final funeral planner who does everything in the planning and putting together of worship occasions, has not even been home. And the funeral's already started without him. The young lady hasn't even been pronounced dead by anybody official. Someone can't get this done fast enough. I can clearly hear the subtext of animosity to both Jairus and Jesus. You know, a slow mind is easy to read. They're thinking, we have a workable plan to put these two do-gooders, Jesus and Jairus, in their place. The plan's in motion. We will follow through. If the girl ain't dead, we'll just kill her during the undertaking. She's only a girl anyway. They had professional mourners in position, hired and paid to do the undertaking. I mean, like, they're planning the death. Jairus wouldn't have done that. He's clearly expecting a recovery through the healing power flow of his friend Jesus. A whole band is there. Mourning was done this way. There'd be an orchestration of flutes, stringed instruments, and drums, and a choir of black-robed wailing women singing the best hits of Yoko Ono. If that little girl's not dead, they won't get paid. Think about that. Jesus, Lord God Almighty, always the one with amazing and beautiful understatements, asks, hey, what's with all the noise and commotion? If you don't lower the volume, you're going to wake her up. They ridicule Jesus and laugh derisively at him, amplifying the noise level. So Jesus kicks them out of Jairus' house. Now, guests receiving the hospitality of the host, simply stated, do not kick other people out of the host's house. May I be so bold as to suggest that Jairus and Jesus know each other very well and enjoyed a good relationship. Jesus' new kingdom's taken shape. The old system of honor, shame, religious purity, and unchangeable caste distinctions, it's over. That's what's dead. The symbolism of the death of Jairus' daughter, uh, wealth, privilege, and entitlement are not salvation. Her age of 12 reminds us of the tribes of Israel, who may not survive all of the things that will happen in the first century AD. If they don't see that the new kingdom is a new social order with equal status and opportunity for all, the new kingdom is life-giving and affirming for all sides. You know, we all deal with interruptions, things going according to plan, a tragedy, or winning the lottery. It happens, and everything changes. In the last quarter of seminary, we were assigned to submit a 5-year plan that would outline our future goals. As I recall, I was planning 3 years of parish ministry while I studied at U of H toward a PhD in psych. After 3 years of parish experience, my goal was to be able to apply for chaplaincy in the military or in institutional chaplaincy. I had several goals for my first parish, Holy Trinity, Houston. 54 days after I arrived there, on St. Bartholomew Day, a Saturday, the building burned down. August 23rd, 1975. Interruption. You make a dear friend, and then one of you moves away and you never see him again. interruption. Be a part of a love that will never die. And then one of the parties does. Tragic interruption. You can resent interruption or mourn the cancellation of wonderful plans. But we do kind of know life changes and throws curveballs at us. That's a given. You can be paralyzed by those interruptions and pull back and isolate, but it doesn't gain anything. Or you can make interruptions pay and produce miracles for you. You can withdraw forever, or you can write $1 million song. It's been done. Today's story of paradoxical healings in the midst of a variety of intentions and interruptions and manipulations. It reminds me of the chasm of difference between Angola prison convict Huddy Ledbetter, also known as Leadbelly, who wrote and sang Goodnight Irene, and George Frederick Handel, who composed and produced Messiah, along with about 40 other operas. They definitely circulated in different crowds, in different centuries, and yet in one sense, they composed a similar song. Both songs, products of grief over the interruption of a very good thing, products of fear transforming into faith, illustrations of adapting to the interruption in life and finding new paths. Our faith has very little to do with what happens to us. It has everything to do with how we handle what happens to us. The highs make us glow, but the lows make us grow. Cross on Calvary, ultimate interruption. And there, Christ creatively constructed new life for all. Interruption is a second chance on the current plan, an opportunity to be alert for God's miracle and our responsive ingenuity. We thrive in a world of interruptions. We can thrive because, even unclean, we are nevertheless touched by Jesus, the man with a flow of power. Amen.